So, I've mentioned before about how Genshin supports are becoming more niche or more tailor-made for certain DPS, and with people talking about Shinhe and some of the rumored upcoming enemies, this made me want to just talk about my thoughts on it again. Also, I just want to throw out there, if you haven't subbed to the channel already, I'd greatly appreciate it if you would consider doing so, or leave a like if you liked the video. Okay, so when we talk about good supports, we often instantly go to Bennett and Zhongli, which is fair because they are without a doubt the two best supporting units in the entire game, and honestly, this is where the issue of character design comes from. Kujo Sara, Goro, and Shinhe are all tailor-made to work with their respective elements, and honestly, this is what I think should be the case for most support units. This does instantly make you think to question, but Splurky, if you think every support should be tailor-made, then why are you an Anemo main? To that, I honestly think that Anemo already has its tailor-made playstyle as well. It's a damage buffering archetype of characters with how Swirl works, and with the exception of Zhao being a raw damage hypercarry, Kazuha, Sucrose, Sayu, Binti, and even Jean can be used to swirl our elements with Verdescent Rare, which gets more of our elemental reactions, similar to the way that when we think of Geo characters, we can think of them as just being our general shielding support archetype of supporting characters, with the exception of Yunjin giving us normal attack damage bonus, but still offering shields regardless because of the crystallized Geo reaction. So technically, even though they are neutral elements, they are still tailor-made to fit in a slot on a team. Now the exception to this rule is of course Bennett, Xingqiu, Xiangling, and Zhongli. And what I mean by this is that when you're building a team, you can slap any of them into a team and it just works. While sure, it is really nice for these flex tape slap anywhere, fix anything supports because of resources, which I think is the biggest issue. People refuse to say that that's the true issue why they don't like these niche supports. If MiHoYo didn't make more specific supports, then we would run into a big issue. We can clearly tell that they don't want to make any more Bennetts, Xingqiu, Zhonglings, or Zhongli, because consider this. What if they do just keep making the next big thing? If you're constantly and consistently making the next Bennett, then for everyone that doesn't want power creep, that will immediately not only power creep characters, but it will most likely make a lot of them unplayable. Now I know this is a purely PvE game, so what do I mean by make older characters unplayable? Well, as we progress further and further into the future, they'll be making enemies get higher health to show we're progressing further into endgame of new regions. And with this, if they keep releasing new characters more broken than Bennett, and then more broken than them than the last, then eventually the new monsters will be scaled to them. And then how do we keep older characters relevant? You see, MiHoYo is in a really weird situation. You could say that they could just nerf Bennett, Zhongli, Xingqiu, or Zhongling. The issue there is players have spent hundreds if not thousands of dollars securing constellations for these characters, and nerfing them would not be very ethical because these units are the people paid for these units to do what they do, and if they're nerfed, then they wasted money because they won't do what they wanted them to do with their investment. Well, if they can't nerf them, they can just buff everyone else, right? Well, honestly, no, they can't really do that either, because if every support is upgraded to the level of power they're on, the game will become too easy. All the mods would become a joke, the Abyss would be pathetic, and now they're in a new problem. The new problem would be for them to tackle. They would have to upgrade all the mobs, and then that changes everything else, and now everything else is just way harder. And sure, all the characters might be balanced, but now the new characters have to be either on the same level or better than the old characters to promote sales, while also making the content harder so players will want to stay and keep building new teams. So they're just in a really awkward spot with it overall. So now we look at Shinhe. To be honest, when Shinhe is paired with Ayaka, Kaya, Chongyun, or even Ganyu, she shows that she's an absolutely amazing support for cryo teams. You can even take that farther and run an Anemo character and have that much more cryo shred, which gets a lot more value out of her. This also applies to Kujo Sara with Electro and Goro with Geo. You get what I'm trying to say. This is a better step because these are not flex tape style supports. These can't be slapped anywhere. This is a specific support for a specific team. It's good because they can make powerful supports like Shinhe without breaking the game like an upgraded Bennett would. And you might be thinking, how's that? Let's consider this. Let's say a 4-set releases for Xiao. And to boot with that, an Anemo support tailor-made for Xiao is released as well. This would be an insane buff to his damage, and he would shoot up immensely on the DPS tier list. This sounds like it would be breaking the game. Well, yes and no. Well, it isn't, because if you aren't a Xiao player, the support does absolutely nothing for you. Just like if you don't play Ayaka or Ganyu, then Shinhe won't really do anything for your account either. The benefit of this is that you get niche supports, making your favorite characters that much better, while the significant downside is that you now need more resources, because now these specific tailor-made supports, you need them for your favorite characters, which means you need to build more characters, and in a game of building characters, we have extremely limited resources because of resin being a mechanic. And yes, it would be way easier to just make a bunch of Bennetts, so that you build them, you're future-proofed, you won't need tons of resin, which is time-gated for a bunch of different characters, and honestly, I'll just leave my full thoughts on resources in this game for a separate video, but honestly, what other content is going to keep you in the game other than building characters for your favorite teams? Yeah, not much. I think that supports like Shinhe, even though she's a niche 5-star character that not everyone get the most out of, is the correct direction for MiHoYo to go, because everyone just running Bennett because he fits everything is just boring, and I like seeing team variety. So referring back to that rumored upcoming enemy, now these are rumors, but the rumored enemies are husk enemies, and these enemies were designed to be a counter to shielded characters, since if they hit shields, they heal themselves and other mobs around them. This instantly sent Redditors into an absolute frenzy, spamming this will ruin their geo comps in the replies, and like, I know you have shields, and Geo is all about shielding, but you can always just dodge the hit so they don't heal off your shield. So I mean, I just don't see it as that big a deal, just how corrosion made people depend less on shielders and more on healers, since for a better part of the start of the game, healing didn't mean much. But now with corrosion, they're used way more, and that's good in my opinion, because more people are using healers, and that just leads to more team cons people are seeing because they are not ignoring them anymore. I think that's great. I think enemies like this are also good for the game, because the new enemies like this, you have to build teams around them, and I think that's good since this is a team building game anyway. But I know a lot of people just want to be lazy about it, put a shield on, face tank, and just have fun with the gacha game, and I think that's absolutely fine. But I do also want these harder enemies to come in and really make you shape your team around them, because it is a team building game, and I feel there isn't a lot of things in the game that really force you to think too much, and the more difficult the game gets, the more fun that I think it will get. But I understand I'm coming from a niche perspective, but I'll leave that one alone. Okay guys, this is going to be an end point for the video, and honestly it isn't Genshin related whatsoever. It's actually related to Monster Hunter Rise, which by the time you see this video, it'll already be released and I will already be grinding it, because I played Monster Hunter for 16 years now. I truly love this series, and I was wondering, do you guys want to see me post informational Monster Hunter content on the channel? Or would you like me to just leave it to Genshin related content? Should I have Monster Hunter content on a separate channel? Let me know what you guys want to see in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think about supports. Thanks for watching, guys. And if you haven't subbed to the channel already, please consider doing so. And if you leave a like on the video, you're a cutie. I'll see you in the next one.